Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
Wherever you're watching, wherever you are listening, welcome to the Big Biz Show. We're inside the Loft 100 studios here in Southern California. Costa and Mary with you. And as we say in these here parts, a big old howdy to ya. Oh, love it. Can we get a picture of the day trader trio?
Brian Jordan a question really fast.
Go ahead.
Oh, bloody what? Oh, come on. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Do you have a question for Brian?
No, I just think he shoved a piece of cake in his mouth 4 seconds before we went live.
She's messing with us. That's what it was.
Oh, my God,
you,
Mary.
He's a fellow gaucho, which, speaking of...
Brian, you're a gaucho?
Yes, UCSB. And...
Cat got your tongue? Say something. Come on.
No,
come on.
see?
No worries.
Zoom in on him.
I didn't know.
Sorry,
I had no idea he was a gaucho. And now you're about to have
I'm
another.
a gaucho, and my daughter is going to start.
Yeah.
She just graduated last Friday, a couple
She's
days
a legacy?
ago. She's a legacy.
Right.
And it's wild. It hasn't even hit me. I don't think it'll hit me until I do the drive home from, moving her in. And then I'll just drive home and cry my head off. Oh, look at.
Well, wait. Did you cry at the graduation?
Okay, you want to know something?
Sure.
I am too much an event planner by trade, and I have too many things going on in my life where I'm planning.
Okay.
It's like people in the movie business that go see movies, you can't really enjoy it because you're thinking about all the things they could have done differently. I'm like, why did they start playing the graduation song 4 minutes before it started? So we heard it. So already at the top of the graduation, I'm annoyed. So I lose focus on what's really happening.
Okay.
And then, I just I got in the zone and I was just proud of her. I was happy.
So you're the person in the boat when Jesus was walking across the water and you're like, you're not walking fast enough, Jesus. You're not walking
100%.
fast enough. Okay. But no tears.
I think there were tears of joy. One gal sang an Adele song, and I thought it was going to make me cry, but then she was really off key. So then that was bad. But she's a senior in high school, so I had to give her some slack. But this is my ism, like my thing that's wrong when I go to events. I'm like, oh, they should have done it like this. I know. My event planning days come into play.
I get it. I get it. See, if that girl is singing Adele and I'm in the audience, you hear me laughing because I'm just going to let out.
Oh, the kids didn't stop talking about it later the weekend. Another one of my daughters turned 17 the 2 days after graduation.
Right.
All the kids were singing the song and making fun of her.
So no tears of joy, anything at the ceremony itself, even when Adele was ruining the song.
No, I think it was. I was happy.
The drop off is what's going to.
The drop off's what's going to really kick it in, I think.
Oh my God.
And also paying the bills. Writing the check. The first check came for her. She also made the dance team, so she texted me the other day. She's like, "Oh, P.S. You owe $1,000 for costume or for the dance team outfits." I'm like, that was not in the budget.
Oh boy.
So yeah, that's fun.
I remember I drove with my mom back across country into New Jersey when I went to college, and I was like, okay, mom's still with me and she's helping me find, get stuff and things like that. And then I'm counting down the hours to when I got to drive her back to the airport to drop her off. And when I watched her walk down that gate to leave you, that's when I was just like, the lump in my throat and the mommy, my mommy's left me, and then you realize you're on your own. And it's like, hopefully, guys, and there's something that your parents taught you actually sunk in and you can use and you can manage not to cut your own head off in the process.
I think about it every night when I go to bed. Did I teach my kids enough things to sustain themselves on their own?
All right. We've got a ton of money talk just like that. Coming your way, we swear. Keep it right here as the Big Biz Show continues. Mommy!
Go!
Big Biz Show continues from Southern California, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening. We are inside the big, beautiful Loft 100 studios. Speaking of beautiful, that's the Day Trader Trio up there on that stage. Best in the business, no less than soft self-taught. Back here at the Barnes Costa, it's Mary Godwin, and it is, of course, Sully. Well, of course, let's not forget we also have Dan Negroni in studio, one of our favorites as well.
Dan.
And if I'm not mistaken, he wrote this book called Chasing Relevance.
Yes, he did.
Chasing Relevance is about being a next-gen leader.
Yep.
We thought we would surprise Dan today, who is a college professor, by bringing in a junior in college.
A real life
Real life Gen
Cassidy
Z.
Smith.
We talk about Gen Zers all the time, like as if
Now we have one.
Now they're
we have
here.
her for the summer.
Yes.
Cassidy Smith is our Gen
Welcome.
Z financial correspondent, and this is what we did. We sent her out, we had a conversation, and I said, what are they teaching you about workplace? And she goes, I don't know. I go, do you know how to write a check? She goes, no.
Nope.
Because you know how to buy a stock? She goes, nope. So we sent you out to talk to some of your friends about the world of business.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I am a 20-year-old Gen Zer. I survive on ramen noodles and Venmo requests. And, you know, I asked my friends, do you know anything about anything financial? They don't know how to invest. They don't know what a 401k is. They don't know what credit score is. You know, college kids these days are expected to solve calculus problems, but they can even budget for groceries. So,
Do you know the first thing about getting a job?
I know you apply and wait to hear back.
Enter the college professor, Dan Negroni.
He teaches at our school,
This is
right?
like a surprise attack.
I know, we did. We did.
It is.
But we wanted to,
I
we
love
thought,
it. I love
because
it.
I think what we should do going forward is having the two of them
I just
together.
love that. So, first of all, I think it's a great idea, and second of all, I love Gen Zs. So,
I love them too.
This is all cool. Well,
Someone's
that's
got to
good.
translate though.
Just real quickly, when we look at you guys, you people, there is a lens that we have to put the Dan glasses on, and then suddenly we can work together as you're hiring people and such. Which was interesting because yesterday as I was sitting here talking to you with our people, I approached your approach to speaking to her who wanted to be involved in the business and said, "What do you want?"
Yeah.
Which is I never
sure.
would have
I love
asked that
it.
before, and I got that from you.
I'm proud. I'm going to weep.
But you got glasses on when you look at old people like us and going into the workplace, regardless if it's the workplace that you want to be at or a workplace that you have to be at. I think this is the confluence of what you do.
Look, I mean, it's the end of the semester, so I'm just, getting done with the classes and the groups and what they've learned. And I find there's a big disconnect in learning about life, like you said, the simple things about checks, but like, what about you? Like, how much do you know about you that you want to share with the world, and how to get a job, and how to explain what you love to do, and what's your superpower, and blah, 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 blah.
Is anybody asking those questions? Any of your professors and such?
I mean, no professors, as far as, I've been in college, have asked me, what about you? It's all about, I think success as a 20-year-old today looks like a 9-to-5 with a boss who barely answers emails.
Let me ask you this. When we were in school, I'll talk because we're similar age, $50,000 and buying a house was kind of the goal. I wanted to get $50K. It was my first job, and that was considered success in 1983 for me. Okay, for you these days, we talked about this. It's $100,000, and I don't even know if I want to buy a house.
Yeah, well, it's even worse than that. It's like, I don't know what I want to do.
Right.
Like, there's so many choices, and I'm so confused, and where the hell do I start?
And it's almost impossible to get a job too without knowing someone in the network you want to be in. You have to have connections. You have to, like I said, network. And if you don't have that, that foundation, it's almost impossible to get a job.
So I have a question for you, and I love that. So it's like the how-to of all the things you just listed. How many people in college, how many people in your life ask you about how you're going to do it or want to help you with that?
I mean, no one other than our peers.
No one, yeah, your peers.
Our peers,
yeah.
it's a competition of, oh, I got this internship, I got this job for the summer, and it's like, if you don't have anything, you're kind of considered a lowlife. But it's just, there's no room to get a job unless you know someone in the field you want to go into.
This is exactly what we want to talk about today, because Dan, you have said that the future of the workplace isn't coming, it's already here.
Yeah.
And what does she need to know about that? And what do we need to know about that? And when I say she and we, I'm talking about employer, employee, I'm talking about industry, student.
Yeah, so I love the question. So when I start my course, I ask my students, what do you want to learn this semester? Like, what do you need from me to figure out your how-tos? And I'm lucky enough to teach in the business school and teach strategy. And so I believe strategy is about communication and it's about how-to. So has anyone ever asked you that question, what you need?
I mean, I don't think anyone of authority has ever asked.
Well, Sully just asked you today,
Well,
right?
besides you, but I'm saying.
But I was coached by the guy who wrote the book, Chasing Relevance, who's a nationally recognized.
Yes. Do we as a group come across, though, our age as just being so busy in the rat race, one eye on the prize, that you're intimidated to say, hey, Dan, can you talk to me about how I would buy a stock? That type of thing.
100%, I would say kids my age are intimidated. I mean, I've seen my friends use Chat GPT to explain.
See, we're intimidated by you. Wait a second. Can you tell me how I can get email on my iPad? Because I bet you could.
Yeah. You guys have hand, believe it or not.
Yeah, I've seen my friends use Chat GPT to explain tax brackets to them in terms of TikTok influencer drama. They have everything at the tip of their fingers, so they don't go to someone who necessarily doesn't know how to communicate it in modern, real world scenarios for them.
So you do understand, though, you have the power to ask. And by the way, any one of us, and any probably grown-up or older person, would be so thrilled to answer the question if you ask them. You understand that, don't you? And so what do you think stands in the way of being able to ask the question for the help?
I think it's a little bit of a few things. I think, for one, it's just easiest to just go on your phone and look up on TikTok, what is the stock market? How does it work? On TikTok, and you're learning it from a TikTok influencer and not
YouTube, right?
Yeah, or YouTube.
YouTube University.
And you do that because why? I mean, because I think
it's quick. You can get it in a matter of seconds.
And what else?
They speak in terms of, the Gen Z language. They explain it in terms of modern day analogies that we can understand and not just,
So we're not referring to things like hee-haw, Mike?
But I remember being that age and not knowing what I wanted to do either. I mean, I can relate to all of those feelings, and we didn't have anything. You just kind of learn as you go. So I don't know what the difference.
The difference is to learn as you go, because I didn't have the desire to go look it up. I didn't have the.
You didn't have anywhere to look it up.
You had the book, Funk and Wagnall's Encyclopedia and the Britannica
I think
World
the
Book.
biggest thing, though, that I'm concerned about is they're intimidated.
Yes.
Like, we weren't intimidated. We were encouraged. You want something, go get it. Yep. And their generation has to sort of figure it out or feel embarrassed if they don't know something because they could look it up. And it's just such a disconnect.
I got a question for you. And for you.
Yes.
Okay? Are you intimidated by AI?
No.
Are you intimidated by AI?
Not now. I was when AI first became a thing. Like, what? But I just get on and play with it. Because there's your next confluence, the next step, right?
Look, the connection between technology and people is real and needed and scary, and it's the future of the workplace and it's the future of school.
But your greatest thing, one of the greatest things you ever said was, guys, tech is just a tool.
It's just a tool.
It's just a tool. And people don't realize that.
People need people and people matter, and we got to stop the nonsense. I mean, even in my class, they don't know how to use AI. And so we have to teach them, and we have to teach this generation and us how to use the tools and still be people.
Because it's more than just
they know it better than we do.
But wait a second, what he's talking about, though, is more than just looking stuff up, though, is what you're saying.
Do you think?
Most of us think about AI wrong.
It's how do I feel empowered to ask the right question to AI,
I agree.
or to know how to do the prompt engineering, and what result am I looking for, and how do I feel confident about that? That's what's missing.
That's a great term.
You said AI was a tool. I would say that kids my age aren't using it as a tool, but they're relying on it. It's not something to aid you. It's the only thing they're using to.
But they don't know how to use it correctly. At least I just did a semester with them where I tell them to use AI on everything, and then they present me with a slide deck or a report, and I'm like, did you use AI? They're like, yeah, but they didn't they didn't know how to ask it for what they really needed to make it better for the client or for them, right?
Right.
It's just crazy.
What do you think, real quickly, Dan, and we got about 30 seconds left, top 3 takeaways for a college student right now entering into the workforce in the next 2 years?
Learn how to trust your gut, learn how to ask great questions, and never be scared of trying to learn from people or machines, and double down on AI with 100%. If you don't know how to connect AI and people, you're doing the wrong thing. And find a school, make sure they're teaching that.
You're going to see more at Dan Negroni, of course. And of course,
we need more of this.
I'm sending Cassidy out there to all of her friends.
Oh boy.
With once a week, she's going to go out there as long as she's. We have her as an intern before she goes back to school to talk about. I think the next thing is to ask your friends to define GDP without their fun. Gross domestic product.
Okay.
We'll do like Jimmy Fallon goes out there and asks who the vice president is.
Love it.
I don't want you to look it up. Have them look it up.
Yes.
It's off the top.
Cassidy.
Okay.
So happy to meet you and see you.
Me too.
Welcome.
Dan Negroni. Take us out of here.
All right, thanks again to Dan Negroni visiting with us here. Chasing Relevance is the name of the book. Do not go anywhere. There is much more to come with the Big Show back right after this. Big Biz Show inside the Loft 100 studios here in Southern California rolls on. That is the world famous Sullivan Band. A treat to watch them all together when they're in studio. Back here at the bar, it is Costa. It is Marybeth Godwin, is our executive producer, Rick Todorov, and of course, Sully.
Well, look at this. Ardes Johnson is the CEO of a publicly traded company. Did we get some sort of hint that this guy needs to be interviewed? Because in talking to him off air, I'm surprised he's not a co-host.
Right?
Like the atmosphere.
125 million TV homes strong every single weekday and weekends. Thanks for coming along with BizTV, along with Bloomberg, El Financiero, and if I'm not mistaken, the new Binge networks, which Mike's familiar with.
Yeah,
on every front,
right, yeah,
including television,
hot Cheetos,
and if I'm not mistaken, Mike,
does as well.
Oh, there you go. Ardes is a CEO of a company called NeoVolta. Their ticker symbol is NEOV. I went down a rabbit hole on you guys. This is a really interesting company because I thought solar power, solar energy was gone. I thought that went the way of the dodo when all the tax benefits, all the sundown provisions went. Especially here in the state of California. You may be watching us in New York or listening to us internationally on American Forces Network since we broadcast with TV and radio. But boy, I was wrong. This is robust as ever. You almost seem to be like a pre-peak 2.0 for the solar business, right?
Yeah, well, the interesting part about it is our focus is on energy storage. And it's really about energy management and control.
Which was the problem all along, right?
100%, yeah.
It was what, okay, so we have sunny day here in California, and I know that Germany led the league in terms of solar power for so long, but the one big issue was
right,
and it was the storage issue. And then when they did have a storage issue, there was such an environmental problem with the storage issue. You guys seem to have solved that stuff. So tell me where you guys got into this and what the difference is.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're a company that's been around for over 8 years, and you know this is a newer industry, but we saw something coming years ago, and we realized that. In order to battle the intermittency of solar, in order to control your own generation.
And when you say intermittency, you're talking about weather?
Yeah, weather, daylight, you know, the sun goes away, your power goes away, right?
Yeah. Right.
How do you control that? And the dependency on working with the grid is really been driving solar, and it's been a battle between the utilities and homeowners and businesses who want to take control of that destiny of being their own generator and their own power, their power plant. And so that's what energy storage helps do.
Who's your customer? Is a customer B2C, B2B? Is it all?
We're mostly B2B, right? In terms of what we go after, we work with developers, installers who are working with homeowners and businesses. We do work with some larger businesses direct, and we have some B2C that we're dabbling in because there's some markets where we're looking at third-party ownership models, finance models. People talk about solar and storage as I really want to be, I'm thinking about the environment, or I'm thinking about, the utility and security, and those things are all
What about
important.
putting energy back on the grid and getting a refund back from the power company? There's also a monetary benefit.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's a financial. That's what I was going to say. It's a financial gain. That's what it is. It's really about a financial transaction. What's my ROI? How do I save it? I'm from the state of Texas. And you don't think about renewables there, but the state of Texas is the largest solar. They've been the largest.
Well, it should be. I mean, the weather adds to it.
Right.
What changed from? We come from radio, and we all had endorsement contracts for. I had Solar Alliance of America, Artie Rose, Remember?
Yeah.
Greg, I'm sure you had some too. Back when we were doing afternoon drive radio and morning drive radio, there was always this local solar company, whatever city you're in. You heard your morning show, your afternoon show talk about solar. And all of a sudden it went away. And I believe it went away because of two things. It was the sundown provisions on the tax benefits, and it was the fact there was no storage.
Right.
What changed in the storage technology? Because something must have flipped. Companies like yours coming along. Was there something significant that made that happen?
Well, the technology continues to evolve, and the capability continues to evolve. But the truth of the matter is that the energy storage is just becoming more commercialized.
Yeah.
When I was with Tesla back in 2016, the cost was $3,000 a kilowatt hour.
My goodness.
For a system. Wow. Now it's under $200 a kilowatt hour. So just by that nature alone, it is. But even then, it really wasn't growing until the developers and the installers and the homeowners were forced to do that. Utilities in the state of California are the prime example of what we can call a consumer self-supply market.
Oh.
Used to be, I'll just put it back on the grid and I'll get it for the same dollar that I got. Nowadays, it's like you can't do that. So you put storage on to store all your solar and use it on the off-peak hours. And that's just how it is. The adoption for storage in the state of California went from about 10% to about 100%.
No kidding.
Just because of the rules that the utility have for what we call net metering
So
policy.
part of it, so much of it was mandate?
Yeah.
No kidding.
So
the pesky government gets in the way and kills it.
Right. The government keeps trying. I don't want to talk about the death spiral that utilities can be creating, but the reality is they keep putting rules in place, and they keep driving that, and which drives more adoption, which drives costs down, which drives more adoption, drives technology. All those things are happening. Yeah.
Ardes Johnson is the CEO of NeoVolta, their ticker symbol NEOV. So you mentioned the government. Is this administration? I know that Biden had the Green New Deal, and Trump is drill baby drill.
Yeah.
Where do you guys fit into that? If there's
everywhere, yes. The answer is yes. Right?
Yes, all the above, right? Yeah. And I like to tell people think of energy storage as being tethered to solar, right? Generally speaking, but quite frankly, our usage of our energy and our production of that energy don't coincide. Whether I'm doing a natural gas, whether I'm doing nuke, coal, solar, wind, you name it. Our production never really matches to each individual. So storage has really come along. The cost has gotten to a place where everyone likes it. So when I like to think about the administration, I spend a lot of time in Washington, D.C., and this administration is very big on what you just talked about, for sure. But I think when you think about energy storage, you think about not only control, which Americans like, you think about resiliency, you think about dependence on the utility. Those are things that people don't want to have and things that people do want to have. Storage really provides that glue.
Have you heard the term Rust Belt?
Oh yeah.
Right. Rust Belt came from when manufacturing left the U.S. And you love him or hate him, and Donald Trump takes credit for a lot of things that happened in his first presidency. But one thing he did, which caused sort of a broken glass theory, was he dropped corporate taxes. He dropped corporate taxes and brought manufacturing back into the country, which spurred the economy under his first presidency. You guys are bringing manufacturing back as well.
That's right.
Talk about that because you're going to bring more manufacturing to the U.S.
Yep.
Now, you got to talk about tariffs. You got to talk about everything. How do you do that? And because you're a CEO of a public company, you have a fiduciary responsibility to shareholders. You got to save money.
That's right.
But at the same time, you're priding yourself on the fact that you're bringing manufacturing. Talk about that strategy.
Yeah, part of understanding our market is to know that about 98% of all the supplies that come into my market are sourced from one country or a derivative of a country, China. And quite frankly, it's about controlling our own destiny is what got us in that place. Now, I'm not saying we're not partnering with those folks because all the technology.
Well, you couldn't be competitive if you didn't.
You can't. You can't. I'm going to China in a few weeks, and I really enjoy those. Working with my partners there. But the reality is, we need to bring it back and control our own destiny about what we're doing from a manufacturing perspective, and it also will drive the R&D, which will drive the next generation of technology. So we're working very closely with the administration, this administration, and the last two administrations. Before that is to say, hey, how do we do this in a way that keeps us competitive, right? So tariffs are, argue one way or the other, but those are things that can potentially keep you competitive as a U.S. manufacturer. How do we keep ourselves competitive, but at the same time, how do we put ourselves in a way that takes away our independence on one entity?
Well, I think energy storage is politically agnostic.
Yeah.
That's how you have to think about it.
That's right.
Because it's not a function of philosophy at that point.
Yeah.
It's a function of. We have energy storage in our cars every day. One is a gas tank, one is a battery. The same thing sort of happens. in real life, but I think what people think about is energy storage means everything's got to change, the grid has to change, and we don't have enough, and we don't have sunny days. I think you guys have done a great job there. Will you come back with us and hang out? Because I think we need to have you for more than just a 10-minute segment next time.
I love it. Love
so
it.
he's moving his offices to San Diego, folks. Here.
Love it.
There you go.
Appreciate it. Ardes Johnson, CEO, NeoVolta. From Southern California, inside the Loft 100 studios, it is the Big Biz Show. Thanks everybody for being with us today. Those three guys right there, the Day Trader Trio, they're with us every day, as we are. Costa, Maribert Godwin, our executive producer is Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully.
And look who's in the studio with us there, buddy.
This is Mr. Ian Jenks, of course, Chairman, CEO, Smartkem, their ticker symbol SMTK. Second visit with us in studio.
It is.
Look at you,
And
you're a
you know what?
veteran.
Do you know why
every time I come here,
you became so important to us for a couple of reasons. And that's when you brought up calibrated eyeball. And then I started thinking about this. You've changed the world of displays. Display. What you're watching us on. Display. Yep. I didn't think about this, honestly, until last week, about we look at your category more than we look at the universe based upon my screen time report.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about displays, LCD to OLED to MOUSE, it occurred to me like literally this week how this is as important as Meta, it's as important as a search engine, it's as important as an iPhone.
Yep.
In terms of how our life depends on those things.
Absolutely. But before I talk about displays, much more important news.
Yes.
Every time I come and see you guys, good stuff happens.
Mm-hmm. What happened? What happened today?
So last time, remember, rang the NASDAQ bell?
Yes, that's
So this time, last Saturday, forget bells, forget displays, micro LEDs, all that stuff. As the sun set over the mountains, I got down on one knee and I asked the lovely Elaine to marry me, and she said yes.
Way better.
So let's keep life in perspective, guys. Let's keep life in perspective.
Here I am trying to get to business.
I know.
Business.
That's amazing.
So you, at the age of 26 years old, is getting married?
At 120, I'm getting married.
Can I?
Yeah.
So you're so afraid
to say no.
As a single man, I've got so many things to talk to you about. I would ask you, because I was relegated. I live like Batman. I've got a 140-pound Bernese Mountain Dog, just me and them in my bat cave. I'm thinking that's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to end. Well, congratulations. When is? Are you getting married here in the States? Or you getting married?
No, I'll get married in London next summer.
Do you need a band? Do you need a band? Should we plan on coming over and playing for you?
Maybe,
No?
yeah.
Well, I know one thing we are going to be doing.
Yeah.
What rhymes with bachelor party?
Ian
Oh,
Jenks.
no.
We are taking him. I believe there's a Consumer Electronics Show coming up in Las Vegas.
There
Nevada.
is, yes.
I think we did two in one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about this thing that, I didn't, it's so funny because I woke up on Sunday morning and I got this flash across my iPhone that says this is your screen use report for the week. And it's across all platforms on iCloud.
Isn't it terrifying?
Yes.
I started
Terrifying.
And I realized, wait a
7
second.
hours.
Makes you wonder what else you were doing.
I know.
Right.
Well, but this is why this is so important, how Smartkem's changed the world of display.
So, displays are absolutely ubiquitous, and we really, really don't understand how much communication is visual. Because most of what we think is what we hear and what we speak, but actually the amount of data that's hitting your brain from your eyes is orders of magnitude greater. And we all communicate with computers using a display. Increasingly, we don't even have a keyboard. We talk to the computer, but we see what's happening on the, actually on the displays, on your mobile phone, in your car, in the signage. If you look at the world from space, it's kind of just one big display of lights. So all communication, it's absolutely vital. And the one thing we do know about displays is even the really cool ones that, like you have around here, is they don't look like real life today.
Right.
Don't look like real
they
life.
Still don't look like real life.
Still don't look. It's getting better. And to get them to look like real life, you have to have them roughly 3 or 4 times as bright and 3 or 4 times as much contrast as you have.
Do we want that? Is that what we're shooting for in your business?
Because if you want to have a world of artificial reality powered by artificial intelligence that literally expands your brain, then you can't have a barrier in terms of the visual input between what I'm seeing when I look at you here and what I see when I look at you on the screen.
What's interesting about this thing is you talk about displays, and one thing it comes down to the transistor, and you guys have created a new transistor, correct?
We have created.
I mean, nobody. When's the last time you used the word transistor?
Yeah.
It's basically building blocks here, right? Isn't that the secret sauce for you?
Yeah, Radio Shack.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I bought one transistor, $25 40 years ago. One transistor, and
now you're creating. Now you guys have made a new class of transistor that enables
plastic one.
I guess I think you call it a chip-first approach that you described last time.
Absolutely. So if you look at a TV, 40-inch TV, 25 million pixels.
Right.
So 25 million little dots that are going to glow red, green, and blue.
Right.
Each one of those is driven by actually a little group of transistors. And you've got to figure out how to take 25 million of these little things that are going to glow, and you've got to stick them on a sheet 40 inches in diameter, and then you've got to weld them all to the existing types of transistors that you use. Even if you have 99.9999% yield, you have 10,000 faults on your screen. Add another 9, that's getting pretty fancy. You've got 1,000. Add another 9, you've still got 100. And so that's 100 repairs you've got to figure out how to do, or 100 little defects that you actually look at the screen. So it's the SID show up in San Jose. I've been going and looking at all the latest TVs, taking little pictures of them, zooming in and counting the dead pixels.
No way.
So absolutely.
And
how you make them is a really difficult problem to solve.
And the manufacturing process is really a key here.
Absolutely. This is all about great ideas. How do you make stuff? And so what we do is we turn the whole problem upside down. We take all of these little things that glow red, green, and blue, and we put them on a sheet of glass. And then we make plastic, and the polymer electronics, and they come as a liquid. And we literally pour the transistors over the top, and then we photo pattern them, and we put 5 or 6 layers.
How has Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, called you yet?
About this Jumbotron?
Well, I'm thinking, how big can you get with your technology?
Well, so in terms of LCDs today, they actually make LCDs in 3-yard squares. Can you believe that? 3-yard squares. I mean, these lines.
3 yards. 9 feet. 9 feet by 9 feet.
9 feet by 9 feet squares.
Wow.
So they can make LCDs like that. And then, sadly,
well, that's roughly 2 of our big screen here.
So that's the liquid crystal displays that they do at the moment. When you get down to the latest displays, which are these little micro displays, using micro LEDs, in practice, the biggest things they can make are about this big today.
Okay.
Because if you make them any bigger than that, there's a massive yield problem. And then they stitch, you get these 102-inch TV screens with micro LEDs costing $150,000. They stitch all these little panels together. And you look at them from the side, and you can see the joins.
As we're talking about your manufacturing, your supply chain, changing the world, the technology thing concerns me in terms of you're only good as your last screen, right?
But isn't that the way with all technology? You're only as good as your last chip. You're only as good as your last product.
But it concerns me as a consumer that we're never going to stop buying stuff because it's always you're making stuff better and better and better, which is a good thing for you guys.
Well, I hope so. Is the short answer to that. I hope you never stop buying stuff. But yeah, until you get to true life.
Yeah, right. That's a lot. Yeah,
and we're getting there. We're getting there.
So maybe manufacturing comes back to the U.S.
Maybe it does, but
then along that it comes with prices,
regulation and
regulation, and skill set.
One way or the other, you got to pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That leads me to the question of your next 2 years. Let's say, what does it look like? What are you focusing on? And then, is part of that, how are you going to make this in the United States?
last question first. Absolutely. We would like to figure out how we can have a strategy that brings displays back to the US. And we are talking with people about the possibilities of doing that. But we'd have to do that with strategic partners. The skill set doesn't exist in the States today.
I'm glad I'm not a CEO.
Oh my God.
So we are talking about that.
Because you have to, you got to navigate not just employees, not just revenue, not just expenses, but now you're navigating things like tariffs and mandates and regulation at the same time.
But that's what makes it fun.
And now he's a fiancé.
And now he's a fiance.
yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Next time you're on the air, the bottom third is going to say, Ian Jenks, fiance. CEO.
They grow up so fast.
They do.
Fiancé, Chairman, CEO, Smartkem, ticker symbol SMTK. All right, keep it right here.
Thank
Much
you.
more to come with the Big Biz Show. Don't go anywhere. Big Biz Show rolls on live from the Loft 100 studios here in Southern California. In over 175 countries, all the ships at sea. As always, we say thank you to the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces. The three men on stage you just saw, that's the Day Trader Trio, best in the business.
Best, the best.
As I always say, self-taught, no lessons.
Why does he say that? That's not accurate,
Sorry.
right?
No, it's okay.
You've
Don't worry
had
about
a few lessons, right,
That was
guys?
on me.
Yeah, you guys had to have taken a lesson at one point in your lives, right? Seriously. I mean, I think that's awesome,
The
seriously.
dude that I sat with tried to teach me rudiments, and
Sure.
I learned a couple of them, but I got bored because I just wanted to play the beats that I heard on tape and vinyl and all the things. So, and then probably the only other lesson I had was when I covered a theater gig for another drummer, and I had to learn how to read. So I sat with an amazing jazz drummer, Richard Sellers, who kind of put me through the paces and taught me how to kind of read the charts. And I had the music. So those are the two actual lessons that I've had in my life.
James? None.
Grew up in the musical family.
I was going to say,
the room and they were.
you came out of your mom with a bass in your hand,
Yeah.
so whatever. Brian, what about you?
Yes, classical guitar major.
Wow. At UCSB.
Oh.
Yes.
Excuse us, royalty in
That's
the
why
house.
he's that good.
I was going to say.
He's him.
I was going to say. We love to always, when we get to visit with this guy, of course, Alon Goren, founding partner of Draper Goren Blockchain. One of those people who is, they talk about 3D chess while we're playing checkers. I put Alon Goren into that category. Alon, welcome back to the Big Show, Big Biz Show. How you been?
Show.
The Big Show.
Hi, Alon.
Today it's the Big Show, so
It is.
doing great. Happy to be here.
What's going on, and how is, I guess, kind of the topsy-turvy world of the Federal Reserve, how is that affecting cryptocurrency, the blockchain, et cetera?
You know, I think that in general, the more uncertainty and the more chaos, the more under the spotlight Bitcoin especially can be, right? And so I think it's sad because when it's bad for all of us, when it comes to, you know, the government printing money or the Federal Reserve or the uncertainty when it comes to buying homes and, you know, being able to live,
Sure.
that does, you know, again, like I said, it shines a light on the promise of what Bitcoin and decentralized finance can be. And so, you know, it sucks, but it's great. You know, it's really an interesting way. So the more people believe that the Federal Reserve is going to print money or start lending more out, the more to other countries and to banks and institutions, usually the higher the price Bitcoin is, because the more inflation, the more it's a hedge against the dollar.
So, Alana, how is the new administration and all of the kind of ups and downs and tariff talk and you know, everything we have going on, how is that affecting the crypto market?
You know, the general crypto market follows the world economy, right? Like when you're talking about just in general, prices go up, prices go down, it usually tracks. And I know that most crypto people say the whole promise of this thing is that it's decoupled from the economy. It is, but it isn't, because when we're scared, we sell our most liquid assets and we hold dollars because we're afraid if we're going to be able to pay the mortgage tomorrow. Well, your most liquid assets, whether you believe it or not, are your Bitcoin, Ethereum, your top 10, top 100 tokens that you might have. They're more liquid than the stocks you have. They're open 24/7. You can get money against them. So when people are scared, they sell. When they sell, price goes down. And so, and then vice versa. And only lately has it been a little more clear, especially with Bitcoin, when the dollar's value is going down, it goes up. And that's when it kind of does its spikes. And so, when, like I said before, when people believe that inflation is going to rise, they buy something that's anti-inflation. Usually that used to be gold. Yeah. Now people are talking about Bitcoin as digital gold.
Well, and does it help? I'm assuming it helps that President Trump, has his own meme coins or whatever they're called, Bitcoins. And, he's looking towards and signaling towards giving it more credibility, and he is putting his word behind it a little bit, if that's what I'm reading correctly.
I think, what's funny is they're definitely not Bitcoins. let's separate the meme coins from the Bitcoins. And I include, without talking trash and getting myself into trouble about the Trump coin, I think that most Bitcoiners would think of it as a meme coin, would not think it has the kind of value and the staying power that Bitcoin has. They might not think it's as bad as, what did we talk about a couple months ago, the Haktua coin? Okay. I don't think anyone is saying it's that, but it's more comparable to that than it is to Bitcoin. And I think that people have come to the understanding that Trump is a marketing guy, right? And he has Trump guitars, but he's never played a guitar in his life, right? Sure. That's just who he is. Now, if you separate those two things as a potential moneymaker for him and his family, or a potential product that he's selling versus the whole cryptocurrency market, then you can kind of see some of it. Should Trump be able to have his own meme coin? As a president, you can argue that. But as a human being, as an American citizen wanting to start a company and doing what he wants to do, he should be allowed to, right? And so should everybody else. So the rules and regulations that are coming now through this administration are things that are a long time coming. And the way it was done until now was called regulation by enforcement. That's what they called it before. And the problem with that is that if I am a upstanding U.S. citizen and I don't know what the regulations are, and I'm afraid that something I do might be illegal, I don't know because they've never told me if it is or not, then I might not do it. And that's not the way America is supposed to be, right? We're supposed to be this land of opportunity, this place where we could create jobs and opportunities for everyone. And the greatest sector for creating jobs and opportunities are startups and small businesses. So for the last few years, for the last however long, 10 years that the cryptocurrency market has existed, people were afraid to start those companies in America, which is not good for us. And now that there's rules and regs being created, those companies are being created here. Now we can debate whether or not we like those rules or regs, but before there were no rules. There were just, we'll know, what was that thing back in the day? We'll know it when we see it, right? That's not how to do it, right? That's not how to run a company. I know that many companies we were investing in were being created outside of the United States, not because we wanted to invest in companies outside the United States. We want to invest in companies everywhere. Yeah. But we live here. We want to support the entrepreneurs in America. And most entrepreneurs in America, the ones that did have the guts to do it, left the country to do it. And that's not cool.
Alon Goren, the founding partner of Draper, Goren Blockchain. Always great to visit with you, Alon.